Look, my journey is quite ordinary. It's not extraordinary. I was the first employee of Shopify in Asia Pacific. I joined Shopify when nobody knew of Shopify. Today the company is a $200 billion company, right? So it's massive. So like there was a part where even I had to hire my boss.
What?
This is my story of how I became a part of that journey, how I, made good amount of money that's allowed me to become an investor now.
Yep. You do realize the conversation has already started, and it's the perfect introduction.
I didn't know that. Okay, let me hit record on the phone.
I
Okay.
knew it. You didn't record. Oh
Okay.
yeah. Crazy man, and please don't say journey is not an extraordinary journey. So let's start from there, okay? You being a non MBA, you approached the company. First, you used to be a employee at Google, okay? Then you became a Shopify person, and becoming a country head, then international partnership leads and stuff. So it's very easy for a MBA student to go there, okay? But for a non MBA student, it's easier to become a founder. But in a corporate ladder, getting up that ladder and being at the top seat it's kind of very difficult. It's almost like people don't think if you are getting into corporate, you have to do an MBA. That's there, okay?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's
so
funny, right? Because I'm a guest lecturer at Narsi Monji, SP Jain, Wellinger. It's so funny. I didn't even get through SP Jain when I sat for CAT. And it's such an irony, but I go there and I talk about e-commerce, how someone can start a business, how easy it is for someone to become an entrepreneur. Like it's not how it was back in the day that you needed working capital and investment to start a business. These days, with zero capital you can actually start a business. It's funny, but it's true, that the internet has disrupted entrepreneurship in a way that nobody ever imagined. So let's start there, right? Okay, so not an MBA. Let's start from somewhere that, okay, I'll go back. So I'm 33 right now. Let me start off, telling you a little about where I come from. So I'm from Calcutta, but I've never stayed in Calcutta. I've stayed in Hyderabad most of my life. That's where my father was based. So my mom, dad, and I don't have siblings. We used to stay in Hyderabad, and yeah. So growing up, I was in a good school called Bharati Vidya Bhavan, Jubilee Hills. Who's who of town. Their kids used to study in that school, and we have great teachers, great ambience. So I learned a lot from culture that the school had, and scored well across. I think throughout I've been quite well good in my studies. But then because my father had a transferable job, I used to move around from one city to another, and I never really settled properly, at a place where I could call it my own. And whenever you change schools, you also, I think folks who have an army background will know that it's tough, right? So I wasn't able to clear my premier institutes. I didn't even sit for IIT. I knew that I can't clear it. And yeah, so I in fact wanted to study history. I have always liked evolution, medieval periods, the evolution of culture overall, and I still keep reading a lot about modern history too. But yeah, that's not how Indian middle class families work, right? That, oh, your father's retiring in 4 years. Now you have 4 years to start earning so that we all have a good life ahead. And that was my life too. So I knew I just have a very few options in 4 years to start making money. Engineering seemed to be the best option. I got through a University of Pune, which is a very good university. I got through their engineering. I got computer science as my subject, because that's what I've always been good with computers, right? When I was a kid, but I never really thought I would, you know, deep dive into, let's say, programming and coding and architecture and things like that. I mean, those were things that, well, was interesting, but it didn't blow my mind off, right? But that's the start of my transition. I think I'm someone, you've seen TVF pictures, right? वो बोलता है कि
तू पियर है
and you put me in like a mug, I'll be a mug. You put me in a glass, I'll be a glass. So they put me into engineering, and I turned out to be a good engineer. I came out with the first class, and I passed out during a recession that was going on across the globe, so in 2009. And I still got a job in recession. Like I was one of the 5 6 people got a job in my college in campus interviews, and I was placed before I finished my degree. So I've always kind of been okay in terms of getting through a degree properly without any backlogs or without any problems in passing, and got a job quite comfortably. So those were things that luckily happened to me. I think I was always sincere that way. But things changed after. So till second third year, I was like, ठीक है, engineering सब करते हैं. Is it okay if I speak in Hindi sometimes? And or
या यार वॉट एवर यू वॉन्ट टू, अगर तामी एकलो चलो भाई भी बोलोगे तो भी चल जाएगा, इट्स फाइन कंप्लीट. या
so yeah, I think in my third year onwards, I started developing interest in engineering, right? Like that's when the subjects became much more interesting, and it was more real world stuff that was kicking in. And that's when my projects etc started. I've always been somebody who learns by doing things, and third year onwards projects start hota hai, internships start hota hai, and that's when you feel that okay, I can do this, and this is not just inside the books. This is something that I can actually build with my own hands. And yeah, that's where I had my project was on Google's architecture, and that's when the internet was slowly becoming a powerful tool. Amazon was growing in the US. eBay had already started making noise, and e-commerce was growing globally. In India, internet was still not there. Even smartphones weren't there when I was towards the end of my engineering, right? So but I knew that this is going to be a thing. This is what the future looks like, and that's why I gave it my best. I always I've always been someone who, if let's say I like a certain subject, and I would just go deep dive into that subject, read every book on that subject. But if I don't like a subject, I wouldn't get any interest at all into you know like actually perceiving that knowledge. I think it's a lot about interest for me. If I don't like something, I don't really deep dive into it. I've changed that way as a person too, that I've always been someone, I think, who thought it's good to be playing on your strengths than improving your weaknesses. But over time, I think I've had a 12-year-old corporate career now, and now I can tell you it's important to improve weaknesses as well as keep playing on your strengths.
oh yep.
Okay, so yeah, I finished my engineering. By end of engineering, I had a job in my campus interviews. It was in a company called KPIT Cummins. They Cummins is a generator and dynamo company. It's a listed company. KPIT is their IT division. They support IT stuff for companies like Biocon and others as well. So I was supposed to join them, but then I didn't. I Because company in recession wasn't doing well, and I decided to go another way. I started working for Dell Computers. So Dell में मैं hardware engineer के काम से I was working on Dell XPS systems, and I was carrying around those heavy CPUs of 10-12 kilo across the office and trying to understand what's inside of it, and so that I can get it right for people who had wanted us to repair it and things like that. But hardware was something that was interesting to me. But I worked there for like 6 months, and I realized, oh my god, hardware is never going to have some quick innovation. Like hardware takes its own sweet time to grow, and it's not as exciting as software. So at that point in time, Google was hiring, and I applied and I got through. So I joined the user generated content team of Google. Google's journey was really exciting, right? Like within first 6 months, I was quite good at my job. So in the first 6 months, I got promoted to a trainer. So I used to talk a lot, and I used to talk to everyone, and I was good at explaining things. So my boss thought that this guy can be a good trainer, so let's make him a trainer. And I was still discovering myself. I didn't even know what I wanted to become, right? I just knew that hey, I loved Google's architecture, and Google was the company to get associated with. So, and if I get through, I get through. Like that's life made. And yeah, luckily, I was able to work in a Google office, work with some really good people, learned a lot from them. I even gave presentations to people like Marissa Mayer, who went on to become the Yahoo CEO. And I've even, let's say, met people like Brian McClellan, who was the head of Keyhole, which was acquired by Google Maps and Google Earth. So, I've met many people. So first I joined Google in Hyderabad, and then I moved to Google US in Seattle. I was asked to set up a team of 75 people there, of user generated content analysts who basically moderate all the content that goes on to Google Maps. We are talking about back in 2009, right? Google Maps wasn't that rich then. Google Maps had its features, but then it wasn't a very efficient system that how it is today. So, I basically used to work on the how will the roads get prioritized if somebody's searching for directions to their home from office, which road to take, etc. How does a business listing get verified? How do we know that a customer who's searching for information on Google Maps is getting the right phone number to call on, or the right website, or the right reviews, or whatever information there is about that particular feature or listing? So I used to train people in Hyderabad, and then set up a team in Seattle of 75 people. I was there for a year. Then I came back, and then I got bored with Google, and I was like, man, I can't eat so much every day. I used to have like double egg cheese omelets every morning in the office. It's damn funny. They used to have like 40 dishes, man, every morning. Like there's breakfast, lunch, dinner. Like Google's a great place, right? Like they pamper you so much. And yeah, so I was quite happy
You
eating
do
and
know you can
working.
also take your bicycle there and park there. If you wanted to eat double cheeseburger, you could also ride your bicycle.
You sound like my dad, dude. But yeah, I could have, but I didn't, and I became fat. And yeah, so I used to eat a lot, and I used to work a lot as well at Google. But yeah, I realized soon that, well, it's just 2.5 years of my career. And when I went to the US, like, I realized, right, there were people from MIT and Stanford, and people from the best places on the planet, right? And I felt like I can never be a big guy in this company, because there's way too much competition. There's two ways, right? Either you're a small fish in a big pond, or a big fish in a small pond. I was like, okay, I've been a small fish in a big pond. Let me try and be a big fish in a small pond. And that's why I quit Google and I joined a startup. And the startup had like 50 people. I had come in from Google with a lot of expertise, and I knew a lot about training and relationship management, and I was naturally good at sales. Like I could sell to anyone, like anything to anyone types. So I decided that, okay, let me try and figure ways on how I can increase revenue. And that's how I was leading two divisions, one of relationship management, which was in charge. So it was a SaaS company, right? Software as a service, like Shopify is. So software as a service companies, they take a monthly rental. So the software charges you rent. You have to, for using that software every month, you have to pay some money. So if they stop paying money, so the company doesn't make revenue. So my job was that with my team of relationship managers, they will have to keep good relation, make sure that the client is growing, so that at the end of the month they don't have a problem paying. And that's how I got into making revenue for a startup. And I was taking care of training management as well as relationship management. During this time, I got a lot of exposure. Let's say I've gone to all future group offices. I've gone to Metros and Clarks, and there's so many big retail brands whose executives and leadership I met, and helped them understand e-commerce and help them understand how to grow online. And I was already a subject matter expert in that, because so this is like, let's say this is like 3.5 4 years of my career. And this is 2012, 2013, where there are very few people in India, apart from ones who are working in flipkart.com or jungly.com, which is just about to become Amazon. And people, around this time in 2013, this people know that e-commerce is growing, but there are very few people who are working or have had good knowledge. So I was one of those guys who was a subject matter expert by 2013. So at that point in time, Shopify. So when I was working for this startup was trying to do exactly what Shopify was trying to do in US and Canada. Like, this is called cargo culting. Cargo culting matlab, let's say Ola is what Uber tried to do, right? And similarly, there are a lot of like Flipkart is also, well, a marketplace is a common phenomena, but Flipkart was inspired by Amazon, right?
Yeah.
So this is cargo culting, where that something's worked really well in some part of the world, and now you want to extend it in your part of the world. And yeah, there were a lot of such companies coming up, and I knew that, well, cargo culting at the end of the day तो almost copying types ही होता है. तो जो मेन
Yeah.
ओरिजिनल बना रहा है उनके लिए काम करते हैं. ये प्रोडक्ट मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है. एंड Shopify मुझे पहले दिन से ही बहुत अच्छा लगा था. And I used to play around with the product. I explored the complete product like on my own. and learned it and used apps and read every blog. And because our startup was trying to become like a Shopify, I had to understand, what Shopify is to its core, and I did that. And that's when, I started writing to Shopify's leadership, that I want to join the company. And that's when they were like, okay, we are expanding into Asia with a company called Singtel, Singapore Telecommunications, and you can apply there. And I joined Singtel. So I was interviewed by Singtel, and I joined Singtel, and I became, now Singtel owns almost 40% of Airtel.
Yeah.
So Airtel was reselling Shopify in 2014, and I went to like all 20 offices, 20 circle offices of Airtel. And I used to literally sleep in airports and flights. Like एक office में गया, training दिया पूरा दिन, फिर अगले office में गया, like training mostly to Airtel employees on how to sell Shopify. I did that for months, not just Airtel, but other partners, other sales folks, so we were just building our SME distribution network at that point in time. तो ये सब किया, बहुत मजा आया. I became a public speaker as well of Shopify. I had to represent them at all tech conferences, all retail conferences.
Yes, I saw few of your videos when you were giving talks and stuff.
That's Thank you. So yeah, I've done a lot of that. I still get invitations. I still do talks. COVID ke baad, obviously, I've stopped traveling, and conferences have also reduced. But yes, I've done a lot of that as well. तो ये करते करते, I then Singtel Shopify's partnership dissolved, and then Shopify was like, Asia's still not there yet. It's not mature enough for e-commerce and direct to consumer markets. So that's how, I realized that there's an opportunity that I can convince the Shopify folks that hire me. I will build you a foundation in India and Asia Pacific. And that's how I was able to convince Brennan Lowe, who was the director of business development at that point in time. He used to grow our international markets, and his boss, Harley Finkelstein, who was then the chief platform officer. Now he's the president. The folks who hired me. And yeah, they were the people who I've always kind of looked up to in my Shopify journey.
Okay, you missed one part where you are the one person who built Shopify in India, right? You were there for I think so for 2 to 3 years. You were the only employee, right?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me, like, when you are, although you were very confident that you can build Shopify and Shopify has this potential, let's work for the original guys and be the big fish in the small pond. Okay, but when you're working for a company and a company has this vision, right? But though first you worked for Singtel and then you work for Shopify, and 3 साल तक कोई और एम्प्लॉय है नहीं, बढ़ नहीं रहा है. So on what basis you were still sure कि नहीं Shopify बढ़ जाएगा 3 साल बाद भी? तो if you are the only person working and it's not still grown that much, like what were the few things which made you? Because usually होता है ना कि there's a person builds a team, that guy, the leader, gives the team a vision, but अगर वो 2 साल या 1 साल में नहीं build हो पाया तो few members start leaving, right? Now you are the only member here, so, and you are the only leader here. So what are the bases that on which you decided कि नहीं 3 साल हो गया, ठीक है, I'll still continue here?
That's a good question. And yeah, this is something that I want to talk about and tell other people as well, that when you are interviewing for a company, it's not a lot about money. I mean, of course, that plays a big role, but the first and foremost thing, that if you're looking for a job, it's important that you understand what the company is going after. Like if you are, let's say, working for Ola or Uber, you know that they are trying to make transportation better. If you're working for a Dunzo, then you know that they are trying to make last mile logistics better. If you're working for a Swiggy Zomato, you want to make food accessible easily, to people, right? And if any of these three companies that I just mentioned, and if any of these things excite you to the core, then that's probably a company that you want to work for. Shopify's vision was to make entrepreneurship easy and inculcate an entrepreneurial journey in every individual across the globe. So I think Shopify has been immensely successful in being able to help people start a business, and that's the vision that I related to the most. I know a lot of people in my family who started a business and didn't do well. And here was a company which was doing a great job at it with the help of technology and internet. And I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. And that's how I kept belief in the company. The company had started growing. The company was always growing, but when I joined, and let's say my first year, first 6 months at Shopify, it was tough. As in, I thought it's going to be easy, but it was not. Because, and this is interesting as well, right? Shopify is a DIY platform, a do it yourself company. But India is not DIY. Like, here you have a guy for everything. You have two maids, you have a driver, you've got like a guy taking care of everything. Even here, let's say a Shopify website, agar kisi ko banana hai, then they would be like, okay, hire a
Yeah.
developer, wo aapka website banayega, or hire a marketer, wo aapke liye digital marketing karega. So this has always been a culture where people hire people to get things done, because there's massive technical talent and talented labor available in the market. So, and people may not have the time as well as skill set to do some parts of the business. Maybe they are good at building the product. Maybe they are a creator. They're good at designing the product. They may not be good at making a website, or may not be good at marketing it online. But here was a company which was trying to make all of these things simple. And that's how I really related to that. And I knew that Shopify would be a massive company. Yeah, but it would be a $200 billion company is something that even I didn't expect, to be very honest.
So yeah, take us through that journey. Now, as you said, कि 6 months का वो part was very tough, and that's what I'm asking. कि you know the vision and Shopify, starting from skateboard to now where it is, you can see the growth. But you need some hints to continue, because 6 महीना now there's people एक दिन हो जाएगा, हाँ ठीक है, I'm motivated, let's do it. 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. After 365 or 700 days later, you need some hints कि नहीं यार चल रहा है, कुछ तो कर रहा हो, right? So what were those hints that kept you going on? Ki हाँ भाई, you're on the right path, because you need it, because you're the only person, right? So you can get lost also in your own track. And as you said, ki 6 months tough tha. So just take us through
Right.
that.
So the first 6 months was tough because I was the only guy, and I was trying to get as much context, and then trying to build a market and build the 0 to 1 of the market. And that time India was a little early. So to go and take Shopify to, let's say, partners and ask them to sell it, or to go and tell an enterprise customer like Raymond to use Shopify for all their brands. These were things that were tough, because people would be like, "अरे Shopify तो India में आया ही नहीं है." But हाँ हम जानते हैं there's this company which is doing really well, but how can we trust it? Like, you don't even have like a support team in India, right? Or someone who I can talk to. Like, how much you're the only guy. You're the only guy in Asia. That's that kind of tells people that the market is still nascent and the company is yet to invest in it. But I think I've been a hustler. I've been a go-getter. I think of myself as a one-man army. I'm a small guy. I'm not even a big guy, right? But I think of myself as a one-man army. So when
Dude,
I
with your looks, you look like you're a bit like you have this big personality. Because I was seeing your videos, you're very chill with a little mustache and stuff, and now it's like full ekdam a different personality, which I wasn't expecting at all. So
I'm,
yeah,
I'm becoming old, yeah. So,
yeah, of course, at 33 years old. Okay, cool. Let's go.
but yeah, I mean, I did everything, man. I did sales, support, partnerships, took care of legal escalations. Like, I was like a generalist, and I took care of everything. And I think the first 6 months were tough because it 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 was just so much information to consume. And then the next 6 months was to reproduce that information in a way that brings success to the company. And I should be thankful to the leadership of Shopify, who kind of gave me the time to settle down and do things well as well. I think it's a very employee friendly, people first kind of company, and they gave me the time, even though they always used to keep pushing me that I can do better, and that did a lot. But by the end of first year, I had already started performing. Second year on, I was a killer performer. Like, I've always hit targets. I've never missed any revenue target since my second year at Shopify, I think. And that was because I think, like, look, I'm a good salesman. So if you give me a good product, then I'm a even better salesman, right? If you give me a bad product and then ask me to sell it, well, I can still sell it, but then I'll lose face tomorrow because I'm selling them a bad product.
Oh yes.
But if I'm selling a good product and I'm a good salesman, then people are like, okay, he's a good guy selling a good product. Okay, we should build a relationship with this guy, and he's knowledgeable, understands how tech works, etc. So that's how, yeah, that's how I basically like got successful at Shopify. I think self motivation plays a big role. The people you work with play a big role, and you know, there's another funny story. So in this first 2 years, right, at Shopify, for the first one and a half, like yeah, almost first 18 months, I couldn't even travel to Canada to meet my colleagues, etc. Because so I had a Canadian visa and I went to Canada, but because of so they that time because Shopify didn't have an entity, I was being paid in US dollars, etc. Now, if you're getting paid in dollars and you're trying to enter North America, you need to have a work permit. But I was not. I was delivering my services in India. I was not technically working in Canada. I was just going there for meetings and some training and stuff like that. But the border guys didn't like that, and at the airport they told me, boss, this visa is not going to work, so aap wapas chale jao, you have to go back. So I couldn't enter Canada. Like I was asked to go back to India after I tried to enter Canada, and this happened, you know, this happened once that I had to come back from Canada. This happened once that I had, I went to the airport, and from India only they were like, nahi, ye visa se nahi ja sakte, etc. So I had a lot of problems in the beginning to get my visa, etc. Like I look back at that time now, and today, let's say, like the ambassador of Canada in India, Mr. Nadir Patel, who basically is like he's मतलब consulate के head है. So we know each other, and that's
Oh.
and now if we request ki acha, Shopify guy, some visas need to be made for our employees, and they're very helpful and they get stuff done. So the Canadian government is also a big supporter of entrepreneurship and Shopify, and they have also but yeah, it's just ridiculous that how so all those hurdles that and I couldn't, so I didn't even have a Mac, right? I used to work out of my personal laptop for the first 1.5 2 years at Shopify, but because I couldn't go to Canada, and I because security things etc needed to be done, and wo sab bhi nahi hua tha. So I used to pretty much work like the only guy, and just trying to do weekly meetings with my bosses there and my peers there, and otherwise just trying to work with people in the country who are resellers of Shopify or educators of Shopify, technical partners of Shopify, people who would actually influence the communities to try out a product like ours. I think that's what kept me going, and I believed that the company would be big, and if the company made it big, then I would be big too. So yeah, that happened. Just a little patience and hard work, yeah, takes you a long way, I think.
Yeah, so like, how do you become an investor here? Like, that's a very curious thing I want to know. Like, for that
Boss,
at this stage.
no, not at this. So today I'm an investor because, like when I joined Shopify, this was 2013, 2014, right? And Shopify hadn't gone public then. So I got like a lot of shares of Shopify, and Shopify's starting stock value, I think, was $21. Today, Shopify's value is $1,650, right? So it's grown by over 5,000%. So yeah, that's how I became rich, and and now I help other entrepreneurs who are starting a business and
So
are
you
doing
got
it.
it as a you invested before the IPO or like
No,
after it
no,
got in the second month?
because I was an employee and I was performing well, they gave me stocks.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah. Okay, so here's another interesting thing which I saw. So basically, you are the one who started building Shopify, and then you said एक time ऐसा आ गया था you had to hire your boss. Okay, so तो वो पार्ट यूजुअली पीपल गेट ऑफेंडेड कि अच्छा मैंने इतना सब किया है नाउ आई नीड टू ब्रिंग समवन एल्स जो मेरा भी हेड हो जबकि मुझे रहना चाहिए बिकॉज मैंने ग्रो किया है इट्स समथिंग लाइक दैट ईगो नो इट्स नॉट द राइट वर्ड टू
It
यूज ईगो
is.
बट वैसा
I
होता है
think
ना कि
ego. I think
मैंने
ego is.
किया है लाइक
And that is. I think that is ego in some ways. That it is about me, right? But it's actually not about you. It's actually about the company. And let me try and help you understand. Right? In every company, okay, there's a pioneer, there is a settler, and there's a town planner. Okay. So pioneer is someone who builds 0 to 1. He pioneers things. He starts it. He builds the foundation. There are people you'll see. You have your set of friends, and you have a network, and you'll see there are always people who are good at ideas, good at experimenting, good at exploring something. Like there are explorers. There are, they like going into uncharted territories. वो अंधेरे में आज तक कोई नहीं गया, तो दो लोग रहेंगे, अरे हमको जाना है अभी. So
Got it. Yeah.
so I am that guy. I'm a pioneer. I like being like one of the first guys to do something, build a foundation, build like something for the first time, and and relish that experience. Then there are people who are settlers, people who come and settle on that foundation and make it a nice settlement. Like where ki foundation to build ho gaya. So 0 to 1 is done. Now I have to build the 1 to 10. The skill set that you need for a 1 to 10 is different from the skill set you need for a 0 to 1. Now, then there are people who are called town planners. Now, let's say you have made a settlement. अब तुमने एक neighborhood बना दिया, but now you have to make it a city. Now, to make it a city, you need to think like a city. The city will have a hospital. City will have, let's say, like a municipal corporation. It needs to have a theater. It needs to have schools. It needs to have everything, right? That's so a town planner is someone who thinks of a company as a city and grows the company in a city format, like where it has to be everything. It is a massive tech house now. So think of, let's say, someone who's a pioneer who builds a business up to $1 million of monthly recurring revenue. A settler is someone who takes it from a $1 million to a $10 million monthly recurring revenue, and a town planner would be someone who takes it from a 10 million to a $100 million monthly recurring revenue. So the mindset, the skill set, the experience you need uh, for each of these is vastly different. I was a pioneer naturally. I learned to become a settler over the last these many years at Shopify. I don't know how to become a town planner yet. I don't know how to make a city out of a company. That's something that I have to learn. And life is a learning journey. So when my boss told me that, boss, we have to hire somebody senior because Shopify is massive now. It's a $100 billion company, and there's a board that the entire company is answerable to, and we need senior people driving senior stuff, people who have who have had successes and failures 10 times over, so that they know what decisions to take. And you're just not there yet, and that was a fair feedback. And that is something that I
Did you
took with.
take it? Did you take it correctly? Like in the beginning, did you take it nicely?
No. But I think that is where the vision comes in. Like if you believe in the company and the vision, that this is what is right for the company, and what I started off doing is helping people become economically independent, helping people start a business. I wanted to work for Shopify because Shopify was changing the world and setting up entrepreneurship as the go-to thing that people should do to become independent. I think these are things that appeal to me more than the fact that, okay, now I'm going to hire someone who's senior to me. And yeah, that you always have to listen to someone and get to learn from someone and become a better version of yourself. I think if you let go of that ego, I think there's a lot of room for improvement for anyone. Even if somebody's 70 years old, I think there's room for improvement and room to learn something new. So I think that's the attitude that should be there in every individual.
Damn, man, it's usually people would have left the company, but this is great. So what does a pioneer do then? What does a pioneer does next when there's a settler coming in? Like, what will he
So
do?
so a settler's job is to steal things from a pioneer. That's how it's defined. So
Yeah, exactly.
a pioneer ideally can learn how to become a settler by working with the settler, or can search for new places in the company where where pioneership is needed. So
Got it.
I thought that, okay, now I want to learn how to become a settler. So now I'm good at building settlements.
Yep. So what is your so now you're international partners lead, right? So what is that role? What do you do every day? Like now today you're giving an interview, but you get up. What do you do?
My team takes care of partners in South Asia and this part of the world. India is the second biggest partner network for Shopify globally. When I joined, it was not even in the first 15 countries. So, and today it's the second biggest partner network for Shopify globally after the US. And that's because we've got a wealth of technical talent here, developers, designers, digital marketers, and the service based businesses, that part of the economy is massive. The gig economy is continuing to grow. Freelancing is continuing to grow. People don't want to work always in that, the typical ITES setup of, let's say, a Wipro, IBM, TCS, etc. People want to explore, want to do new things, want to try out things on the internet. It's not like how it was before, that if you don't get a job in campus interviews, or you're screwed. Or if you don't, like, today you can become a creator, and you can do it because the internet has, you're a creator yourself, you're creating content. I mean, you don't need to wait for someone to come and give you a job. You can create your own destiny. So yeah, I forget the question. What was the main question?
What do you do daily? What is your daily
I
task?
what do I do daily? Okay, I basically take care of partnerships where my team is responsible to grow revenue from partners, to utilize our partner network in creating apps which improve product market fit for Shopify. So there are different kinds of partnerships that Shopify has. Partnerships is a moat to our company. So I've told this before as well, that anybody can create a software like Shopify if they're good, but to create a partner network takes years of time, right? So partners would be agencies who are building websites, doing e-commerce, freelancers who are doing let's say website designing, or are again like helping other businesses succeed. Then there are digital marketeers. So e-commerce businesses, people who have a product and are looking to sell online, they are the ones who are using Shopify. And those businesses need a lot of help, whether it's designing or development or API related skills. Those kind of things are built by partners at Shopify. And that's what is the DIFM thing that I was telling you about, like the do it for me. It's not a
Yeah.
DIY network, it's a do it for me, which actually is a big differentiator. And yeah, I also am an ambassador of the product and do a lot of community events and do a lot of marketing, to for Shopify to grow its adoption in the country.
So when I'm talking to you, these are the level of conversation we are having. Okay, I'm asking you a few questions and you are answering me at the same around that question, right? There would be few people around me जिनके साथ मैं एक level का conversation करूँगा. Okay, now you are at a senior level. Okay, and being at that level, and not only in India, at the international level, right? So whenever you meet people or whenever you talk to people, they can be external partners which you're trying to get in, or maybe the HQ people, or at the people at the senior level, right? Any different company. What are the conversation you have? Like, you would be getting, as you said, you also know the consulate, the head. So when you meet these guys, what are the level of conversation you have at the senior level?
Well, it's a broad question and it differs on context. But I think every person has their own motivation of trying to do something or create something. I think whatever the conversation may be, whatever even you and I chat about, and if you're trying to make conversation, I would start with a why. Why do we want to do this? And try, if you understand the why very clearly, I think the other things become much easier. That's like always, if you're trying to understand what somebody's trying to do. Trying to, let's say, start a business that they want to sell cakes. Okay, why do you want to sell a cake? Why do you not want to sell anything else? Why cakes? And then the person would be like, hey dude, my mom makes great cakes. Oh, okay, great. Why does your mom make great cakes? And like, why is it different? And then you'd be like, well, my mom has a special recipe that's not there anywhere else. And then you'd be like, oh, what is different? Why is that different? So there's a three-layered why in everything. So if in the third why the person still makes sense, that means this is a very good, legitimate, genuine idea and should be pursued. But usually in the
Yeah.
third why, people don't have a good answer.
Oh damn. Okay. So we'll come back to this, but this is where if someone wants to start a business, right? When they are generating an idea or talking to you about an idea, right? But suppose if you meet Bharti, or if you meet Toby, or when you go to Canada, so when you guys just chill, right? There would be some 5 minutes where you wouldn't be where you wouldn't be like, there's not a particular girl, but you're just chatting, okay? So what are the kind of conversation you have there? Like, even in the 5 minutes, if you are meeting Toby or if someone like that.
So every time I've met Toby, I mean, it was just a conversation around relationships and mind share and community. And I think it's uh, for someone like Toby, who's at that level today, I don't think the little nuances of everyday matter a lot, but what really matters is the bigger picture and where we stand in relation to that big picture. I think that's usually the conversation with Toby. With someone like Bharti who's just joined the team, it's more about like learning from her experience around how she's built other brands and other companies, and how she wants to grow Shopify, and me bringing context of what we've seen at Shopify, what the culture is, and yeah, I mean, then trying to win things together.
Okay. So 12-13 years का corporate career हो गया, you are at this level. So tell me one of the most shittiest thing or the most embarrassing thing which you have done in your corporate career.
Okay, fuck. Very
Bring it on. Bring it on.
clearly one. So in 2018, we have an annual summit every year. Okay. So every year there's a conference where all employees of Shopify, asked to come under one roof, and there's a big theater that we book, and there's like a massive stage. It's like bigger than TED. It's like F8, or it's like those massive Google I/O or Facebook conferences. So Shopify too has
God.
like those grand production conferences, and it's usually a 2-day conference. So the first day it's the CXOs who speak, and the second day it's the VPs and directors who speak. I was neither, but I was asked to speak on day one, and I was like alongside. So first it was Toby's talk, then it was the CTO's talk, then it
No
was
pressure at all. No pressure
and
at
yeah,
all.
and then I think I was going in fourth. I was the only non-CXO who spoke, and yeah, there was obviously significant amount of pressure to make sure that I do it right. So just to make sure that I'm absolutely on point. So for 1 month, I didn't have alcohol for a month, didn't have a cigarette for a month, didn't like, just was razor sharp on my talk, right? And I used to practice my talk day in and day out. I became really good at it. Before the talk, I knew I'm going to hit it for a ball like I knew this, I'm gonna nail this. And I went to the stage and I nailed it. I absolutely nailed it. So my name is Vargab Bakshi. I'm a lead in the international partnerships team at Shopify, and this is my story. As a little boy, I observed how we did commerce. Today, as a little man, I change how we do commerce. We will need to come together this year, next year, and for the next 100 years to make entrepreneurship a success in this company. Thank you. It was a great honor and pleasure to talk to you all today. I got a standing ovation from 4,000 plus people, right? Everything went perfect. And then I was like, okay, this is great. Now I want to go get drunk. this is this is like the best moment of my life, and I'm gonna go party. And everybody, like all my friends, etc., in the company, they were like, dude, this is like, I've not seen anybody, like giving a speech like that, and this is like Obama level speech. So I did it really well. And in the evening, I downed a lot of alcohol. So, and I made a fool of myself. I forgot my bag. It had all my passport, money, everything. It was an office party, and like, I didn't do stupid things, but I just did lame things of forgetting passport and forgetting a bag, and the next day remembering, holy shit. And I was like the hero of the day, right? I was being worshipped. And here's a man, after being worshipped all day, got drunk at night, and like was as real a human as as any ordinary man would be. So I think I learned a lot that day. Never drink at office parties. It's just a bad idea. Second, yeah, I think it's very important to keep your calm even when you're extremely happy or when you're extremely sad. I think that balance is extreme. It's super important, and it's not easy.
Damn. What happened? Did you get your passport later on? Like, who gave you? Toby?
No, it was Brennan who hired me at Shopify as the director.
Oh, damn. Ouch. Do you talk to them? Do they still
Yeah,
recall
yeah.
them?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
yeah, absolutely. I definitely, yeah, we are still, everyone's still a friend. And next
Oh.
day, Toby came to me and he was like, I learned that you drank a lot last night. And I was like, yes, Toby, I didn't know how to handle that much happiness. The happiest moment of my life. He's like, yeah, I heard. I heard you lost your passport as well. I'm like, shit, yeah, I did, Toby, but yeah, I got it back. It's quite
Okay.
embarrassing, very embarrassing. Yeah,
Ouch, Babre. This is the best. This is the epic moment. I'm gonna like use this as a इसको ऐसा clip trailer पे डालने वाला. I'm gonna use this. Okay,
like,
this is the best one.
so this,
Yeah.
this, don't do that. That's the final nail in my coffin. Then,
Yeah. So, man, I have last two questions. I hope you're fine with it.
yes, go ahead.
The first one is we ask this to every person, like every artist, sports person, entrepreneur, right from international and national. But it's fine if you don't want to answer it. But like as a person, so how do you manage your wealth?
All right. Lesson number one: if you have a figure in mind that once you reach that, you're done, then that's never gonna work. That's
Wow.
that's that's a wrong way of thinking. I did that too, but when I reached that number, I was like, okay, so what do I do for the rest of my life? And this money is not going to be enough, like a decade or two from now. And yeah, I think don't think of making money as a destination. It's a journey, and don't think of money as your goal or aim. It's excellence that should be your goal, and money is like a is it like a repercussion. Like you get money because you've done a stellar job at something or you've excelled at something, and your performance is what really matters. So try to succeed, and money will follow. Yeah, don't do fixed deposits. I think that is step one. I mean, have some for your bad days, but invest your money in public markets, invest your money in private markets, help startups, sometimes become an angel investor, and yeah, like build relationships with people who you believe in, who you see are different, quirky. There's a Toby quote that Tetris taught me that if you fit in, you disappear. So,
Oh,
so I always look for people who don't fit in. Like if somebody's weird, like I go and talk to that person. Like most of my friends are a little weird. So, but yeah, but they're great at what they do. Like for instance, like a friend of mine, Shashank, he's the founder of a company called Push Owl. He just sold his company for over a $20 million deal. He's 31 years old, and he just sold his company to Send in Blue, right? And he's a very quiet introvert guy. You wouldn't realize that he's such a powerhouse, right? Again, like they don't fit in easily, but yeah, they're all
so
legends.
were they your friends in the beginning, or you kept your circle that way? Because there's a specific quote that you are a product of five people around you. So like, do you think about that thing, or they your school friends or college friends or something like that?
Luckily, so Shashank I met, in my work life, and it was not any objective oriented that okay, you should see my Twitter thread on how I met Shashank. That got a lot of likes, by the way, on how he was sitting in a cafeteria and he was just sad, and I went and spoke to him that why are you sad, and he was like, well, my company's not making good revenue. I was like, oh, you should do blah blah, and you should come on Shopify and sell your app on the app store, and that's how his company really started picking up. And yeah, years later he's made a such a good exit. And yes, if you talk about who I mix with, yeah, obviously my friends, बचपन के जो दोस्त हैं, they are always people who I'm close to, and luckily even the folks who I was been friends with since I was a kid are people who are doing really well in life. So yeah, I
That's
mean,
great, man. Yep, that's great. Yeah. The another thing I wanted to ask you is ki, what is this future of this industry? Like, Shopify is doing a lot of partnerships. They did with Facebook, Instagram. They did partnerships with Spotify. So what is the
TikTok.
present TikTok? Yeah. So what it is exactly, and like what is the future you think you see?
Okay, what is the future that I see? I think the creator economy is here to stay and here to grow more exponentially than before. I think Google and Facebook ads are getting more expensive every day, which is why influence marketing is going to grow further. Web3 is coming in, so decentralization is going to be a big part in the next decade. Yes, crypto, has its own pros and cons. I have
I
been
hope
reading
they
a lot.
don't ban it.
There is no concept of banning. I don't know what they mean by a ban, but anyway, wouldn't comment too much on crypto yet. But I think the world is moving to in the next box of internet, and how we perceive the web and how we operate in the web. I'm excited about what the future holds. But in terms of commerce on the web, we still think that it is quite early. There's a lot that is going to happen. And yeah, the next 10-20 years are going to be phenomenal. Like the world is going to change. Like if you and I have to do a podcast, let's say 10 years from now again, and compare what we speak today to 10 years later and then 20 years later, I think we're going to have a lot of
Oh,
time, joking around what we thought would happen then.
yeah. Maybe a holograms will be chatting in the Canada HQ. Maybe.
I don't
The Zuckerberg summit video. Did you see that?
And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah, Shopify has done some good AR VR work as well. Like
I
we are,
was coming to that, yeah. Because can you talk about this first? Can you talk about this because I love the partnership of Instagram and Spotify, because that's pretty cool. I loved it. So what is that exactly partnership and like AR VR, because this Web3 has decentralized part in it, but a lot of people are, although VR and AR is not attached to Web3, but VR and AR is also booming, right? So what are things coming up? It's pretty cool whatever I saw and whatever I read about.
so one of the things that Shopify's AR VR that we'd seen is this was there in a conference of Shopify. Can't remember which one, but so you wear your VR glasses, and let's say you're sitting at home, you wear your VR glasses, and now you're suddenly in a store, and in the store you can actually browse clothes, you can pick up something, you can see if it fits you,
I
and
think I've
click, and
seen
then
that
you
video. Yeah.
yeah. So these are things that are coming up. Like you can see the dimensions of a certain object. Yeah, the future is quite exciting. But I mean, 5G hasn't even come to India, right? Like I think the world is not ready for the metaverse kind of a world today. It's going to take time, but it will happen. And when it happens, it's going to be insanely good.
Oh, so are you saying that the thing you said about it right now, you can browse the entire store by wearing
Mm,
the VR glasses through Shopify?
mm,
Like,
mm.
how close are you guys? Like, how much you have developed there?
That's developed. That's done. Like a lot of
So,
that has been done, but then to doing it versus deploying it are different things.
so how are you getting? How are you closing that bridge? Like, because if you have developed it though.
I think that's something. So here's the thing, right? Shopify has 1.7 million businesses across the world. When we launch something, we want it to be available for all businesses and for it to be working well for them. And for something like that to go out to so many businesses needs a lot of iteration and taking it to the level that it actually works really well. So yes, there's continuous improvement going on there. There's partnerships also that we are doing in the Unity space. So yeah, it's still evolving.
Damn. Shit. So, Vargab, this is one thing. So a lot of people are getting graduated, and this is one thing which people have in mind. Ki, it's fine to not do a master's, which I totally agree with. But then you being a non-MBA still be have this senior level post, okay? But you have to work equally harder. You have to be different, right? Not every 10% can be that, right? So what are those steps when you're planning it, or if suppose suppose you have built your own business by just being a graduate, then it's fine, or you're being a creator, it's fine. But if you are climbing that corporate ladder with just a graduate degree, then what are the things you need to look for, like how you can still make that way?
Okay, first off, I think it's more than the master's degree, it's the learning that should be good. If you're a continuous learner, then you're sorted, I think. And second of all, I think it's time that people stop thinking in terms of growing the corporate ladder and rather think of how they can build something on their own, like how they can become an entrepreneur. I think that's more important because the job, look, in a job, it's imperative to understand that it's always the company first. It's not about the person. It's first the company. Like the people make the company, but then it's the company's objectives that need to be fulfilled. The teams need to contribute towards the company's objective. Like every person is here working together, gelling in a certain fashion so that the company goes to the next level. And that's why, for if you want to climb the corporate ladder, I am not sure of whether you should be doing an MBA or not. Like, you should be doing an MBA, like, to learn better. But if you are able to gain knowledge, outside of your everyday classes, etc., then that's good too. I mean, these days companies are not hell-bent on hiring from premium institutes. Google scratched that rule many years back. Now even a dropout can get hired. So you just need to be really good at what you do, and that's what is important. So excellence is what one should drive for. That's what I
That's
try
great,
and learn
man.
as well.
Yeah, I mean, I heard few people that they said that I'm not getting promotions as the reason I'm doing a postgraduate degree or something like that. But then you have done it. You have read books. You hear podcast. Tim Ferriss. You're a big fan of Tim Ferriss. So I mean, you have done it, so it's possible.
Look,
Crazy.
promotions are a lot about, again, like, so if you're not getting a promotion, change your job. Like, don't get stuck there. Don't fall in a rut. That's important.
Okay, I mean, I know I've taken a lot of your time, and half an hour was on the setup. But I hope you enjoyed. Like, how was this conversation? Any
It's good.
feedback? How we can?
That's
Yep.
good. I think there's so much that needs to be edited out, I think.